We all shine through. Congratulations, you're number one. I wanna thank you for a job well done. Congratulations, it's so much fun. Now let me tell you all the prizes you have won. You fought the fight with all your might, something to prove. You gave your heart right from the start, so proud of you.
This crown has Paul written all over it.
Congratulations, you're number one. I wanna thank you for a job well done. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations.
Hey there. Thanks for stopping by the show. I am, of course, your host, Shaun, Phillip, Naylor, and over the last 2 episodes of Excuse Me, we've been having a lot of fun exploring the history of drag and its influence on queer culture with our favorite queen, Maya Crafone. After a couple of sessions recording with Maya, we had so much great content that we couldn't actually fit it all into the 2-part special. So with season 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under, premiering this week on Stan here in Australia, I thought I would give you all a little bit of bonus content in the form of an unedited portion of the chat I had with Maya, specifically about RuPaul's Drag Race. So enjoy. In 2009, RuPaul premiered RuPaul's Drag Race for the first time. Audiences around the world were now able to see some of America's top drag queens perform in the comfort of their own homes every week. Over 100 drag queens have featured on the show, bringing with them bigger conversations around issues that affect the LGBTQIA+ community, such as gender identity, HIV, relationships, intercommunity discrimination, and mental health for all to see. Today, drag queens are able to build incredible careers in following through social media, live performances, YouTube, podcasts, Netflix, specials, appearances, and so much more. RuPaul and Drag Race really did, let's say, level up drag in the mainstream media.
So I remember watching season 1 back when it was on Lifestyle U here in Australia on Foxtel.
She's not that young, guys. She's not that young.
So back in 2009. So I've essentially been watching Drag Race from the very first season, from the very first episode when it was first on air. Not repeats, not reruns several years later, not streaming it now and going back and watching season 1, although I have done that recently. I do love watching it again from the start sometimes. But I remember watching it the very first season and going, oh, this is fun, this is camp. I was freshly out at that time, although I still never attended any gay bars, even though when we had the one back home. But I remember sitting down and watching it with friends of mine, and they're like, oh, this is fun, this is interesting, because it was a whole different thing to what we'd ever seen before. So, because I still had very limited exposure to drag back then as a, 2009, I would have been 20. Sort of been 20. So I had very limited experience in the drag realm, and knowing what a drag queen was and knowing all about drag. So it gave me a nice little insight into the art of drag and the realm of drag. And I remember having my first ever favorites watching the show. So I loved Ongina and I loved Rebecca Glasscock, which is a sacrilegious thing to say, I know, because she was the villain of the season.
I don't remember any of the season 1. I didn't watch Drag Race for years.
Where did you start?
Do you know, this is unpopular opinion, I'm ready to be hated. I watched Drag Race for the first time, not for the drag or for the race, but for the guest.
Who
my good friend Rose McGowan.
When was she on it?
Oh my god! I mean, it was a while ago. Like it was before Hollywood shunned her. Um,
Which she did to herself. Well, actually, no, did and didn't do it to herself.
Look, it's a controversial topic, but yes,
Yeah.
there's definitely some fuel to that fire that she added. But she was a guest, and I watched because she was a guest, and it wasn't anything more than, I just loved Rose back then, and I still love her now, to be fair. But yeah, like hold on, here you go. Here's a signed picture.
Oh, back from her Charmed days.
Except it wasn't in her Charmed days that happened. Hold on, wait, here's another one just while we're name dropping. That's a signed picture. Here we are together.
Oh, when she was blonde.
Yes, queen. It's like the only thing I can hang on to.
And
like that
back
guy.
when you had short hair.
Yeah, I was still working at
Redacted.
shouldn't say that back then.
Where?
Coffee.
Oh my god, you need to bleep that out. As like, I was still working at this comment has been redacted.
I'm actually gonna have to. I'll just go coffee.
No. Just go dub over it. Just be like, I was still working at redacted. In your most monotone, like dry voice. Redacted.
But yeah, so that's how I got into Drag Race. I watched it because Rose was on it, and I was like, I just wanted to see her, and I was like, she looks cute, and RuPaul's fun, and it's all going to be fun, and it was all very fun.
It was like the first few seasons were amazing. Like I was obsessed. I mean, I still am obsessed. I literally watch every episode of. I'll be completely honest. I watch every episode of the English speaking ones only because
you can't read subtitles.
No. I can read subtitles, but one of my big things is you can't. So again, going back to what I said about you can't convey things in text. A lot of the nuances and a lot of the jokes and a lot of the whatever they're discussing is lost in translation. So while yes, I can read everything that's written, and obviously if they're laughing, I can go, oh, that's a joke.
But you're not getting the nuances and
correct. It's the same as to how, for example, whenever we watch anything that's British humor, unless you are a fan of British humor, you're not going to get the joke in the way that they intend it to. Same with Aussie humor. And I find Aussie humor and British humor are very, very similar. Very dry, depending on the comedian and the context of the joke. But yeah, unless you're a fan of this specific style of humor, you're not going to get the context and the nuances and the hubris of the joke. I just dropped that fucking wow, hubris. Okay. Fucking SAT words over here, words with friends.
You're doing so well.
But yeah, Drag Race really, like, I loved it in the first couple of seasons. I do find that when it started to go fully mainstream so season 6 was when it really started to take off. So seasons 1 through 5 were still very much, it was a small time show. All those queens are still beloved, but you find that a lot of fans these days have not watched anything prior to, say, season 9 or 10. And they might go back and rewatch them. And if anything, they've all watched season 6, where Bianca Del 301 when Courtney Act was on the show.
Yeah.
The little fun tidbit, I knew Courtney Act was in the top 3 and technically came 3rd before Drag Race even aired. So because Courtney was back in Australia doing something, and she happened to know my old boss and was talking to my old boss about it. And then he happened to spill the beans as to all that.
Do you know, I was only last year old when Courtney Act released her book, Caught in the Act, that I realized that her name was a play on Caught in the Act.
Oh, I didn't realize until just a couple of years ago either.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Clever
I was like, oh yeah, Courtney Act, yeah, cool. And everyone's like, oh, you have to say it in an Aussie accent to get it, like caught in the act. I'm like, I'm an Aussie and I didn't understand it. Another little tidbit for you. So back when season 3 winner Raja Gemini was here touring Australia, Sultan is lovely, like absolutely lovely. He happened to spill a little insider Drag Race knowledge that Courtney was cast on season 6 as a way of slowly launching Drag Race internationally.
Oh,
Because
really?
she was originally cast on the show as a way of launching it to be Drag Race Australia was supposed to be the very first spin-off, and Courtney was going to host it.
Oh.
But because of the fandom's reaction to Courtney, they decided to postpone it. So it was pushed up a little bit, and then the UK was the first. Well, no, Thailand was your first international one, and then the UK, I'm pretty sure. So Thailand and UK, yeah.
Wow. There you go.
But
I'm going to
now-
stop us there for 1 second. I got to go pee.
Oh, you're right.
I've had all the wines. I'll be right back.
I am still here.
Hey, girl.
Sorry, don't mind me. I was just. It was annoying me, so I was just gluing my nail back on. I can't sit here with one nail off. Oh, I was just about to say, if I just lost another one, I was going to be bad.
Was it?
No,
Didn't?
no, I didn't, but this one's not sticking back on. No. Yeah, so keep in mind anything that I've just discussed about Drag Race. These are conversations that I had with queens. Oh, fuck. These are conversations I had with queens 7, 8 years ago.
Is this content that can't go on? Because that's okay.
No. Like you can.
Like I might have to
snippets of
cut
this
it
on.
anyway.
Yeah. If you have to cut it, you have to cut it. But it's just conversations I had with queens 7, 8 years ago. So my memory might not
My
be.
lights went off. What happened there?
Oh, this is, excuse me, after dark.
Fucking battery died in my thing. Hold on. I'll try and figure it out.
I mean, that there is not a horrible, like you're just lit up by the
I get it.
excuse me.
I look better in the dark. I get it.
Oh, we all do, doll.
Hold on.
I get told frequently that I look better as a woman.
You look gorgeous in any gender. Ooh, hey. It's like what's that thing? Poltergeist in the TV.
Oh no, I was just thinking of a Mulligrub.
Back in your box.
So you know what Mulligrubs are?
Yeah. I was
That
a child
face.
of the 90s and
That my license makes me look like a Mulligrub. I don't know how I legally have this as my license photo, but when I got it taken, the sunlight was coming in that harshly. So when they took the photo, I'm literally half a face. It's that blown out and that washed out. I'm like, how is this
surely
legal?
not. Surely they can't allow
Yep.
that.
Give me.
Okay, I gotta say.
Keep in mind, here I am. Just where is it? See, this is fun for our listeners because they can still hear me. Viewers are just going to be like, it's a disembodied voice.
That's why they don't get to hear it, see it. You know the words.
Oh,
Million
okay, here we are.
things.
Where's my camera?
Oh yeah, you do.
Where is it? Yeah, there. Like, it's that blown out that, like, it looks in person, it looks a lot worse.
Do you drive
And-
to Fat Freddy's when you do trivia?
I do.
I want you to be pulled over so badly.
I've only ever been pulled over once in drag. And I was on the way to a gig, and the police officer's like, license, and I handed it over, and he's like, looked at the license and looked at me, and then looked at my license, and then looked at me, and just gone, have a good night, mate.
That's cheers to that. Okay.
Drag Race. What were we discussing? Drag Race.
I
Yes.
think that's, oh, I've got to remember, I've unplugged my mouse in order to be able to plug my light back in. I've got to use my fingers now. Okay. So,
That's excuse me after dark.
isn't it just? Da, 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 da.
So we just got all right. So we were discussing Drag Race.
Okay, so here we go. One second. So with Drag Race, some of the community's biggest issues still remain. For example, Drag Race has come under the microscope for giving queens of color less praise than their white contestants. And these queens are also often targeted by internet trolls because of their ethnicity. Drag Race has also been critiqued for pushing a narrow representation of what drag is, for example, celebrating queens, which are hyper feminine, and not casting any drag kings. We do need to acknowledge what Drag Race has done for drag, but we also need to continue to evolve beyond and outside of the show.
So that is a massive thing. So if you watch if you go back and watch, there was a documentary done a couple of years ago called Work the World, where it was talking with a lot of the Drag Race queens that were on this tour called Work the World. And there is one Black queen, Asia O'Hara, that was discussing about how she would be in a meet and greet and people would be lining up to have photos with the pretty white queens that were on the tour with her, and there'd be almost no one in her meet and greet. Or about how people would be standing there for photos with the queens and then ask her to step out.
Ooh.
And be like, can you not be in the photo, please? I just want a photo with these ones. So she felt very ostracized by the Drag Race. So one thing I want to precursor all this by saying is that drag fans and drag race fans are not synonymous and not one and the same. Drag fans support and enjoy all assets and all factors and all nature of drag as an art form. Drag race fans are fans of the TV show. They're the ones that you will never see supporting local drag artists. They're the ones that you'll never see the local gig. They're ones that you will only see when a Drag Race queen comes to town to do a show. They'll be right there supporting it. They won't talk to any local queens. They won't get photos with local queens. They won't do anything to support the local community. The Drag Race fandom is a complete separate entity. They think they know about drag, but they know about Drag Race. And Drag Race and drag are two very separate things. Like, there's been loads of people that talk about how the amount of money you need to spend on Drag Race compared to the art of actual drag is astronomically different. On top of that, the fact that it is true that certain types of drag are more celebrated on Drag Race than others. So your beauty queens, your fashion queens are more celebrated because they make for a more visually appealing aesthetic, as opposed to your more creative, quirky, avant-garde queens, because they're always done as misunderstood queens on the show. So Drag Race, the one thing that I think a lot of people need to try and remember, which they typically, in my experience, they tend to forget, is that Drag Race is a heavily produced reality TV show. It is not reality. It is a reality TV show. Again, those two things are not synonymous with each other. Reality TV and reality are two very different things. So a heavily produced reality TV show that they're focusing on characters and storylines and what makes more sense for the narrative that they're trying to push. Drag Race started off as a drag competition. It is now a reality TV show. It's no longer what it used to be. I know a lot of queens that have said that they will never attempt to audition or go on Drag Race purely because of what it's turned into. Me personally, I still would, mainly just because for me, for the art of drag, for what I want to do, and that's to be able to perform full time and be doing this as my main job, the best way of achieving that is to get on Drag Race, because that's how you get bookings and that's how you get internationally booked and do tours and travels and TV shows and
I mean, I feel
radio
like being on Excuse Me, I Have Something to Say really gets your foot in the door.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, get this podcast some notice and some global exposure, and hopefully I'll get some cast on some Drag Race, and it'll be the thing that opened the door for me.
Could you imagine? Thank you, Shaun.
Oh, it'll be the first person I thank when I win. I wouldn't win.
Don't you sell yourself short, young lady.
Oh, I appreciate the young.
I mean, you've been fucking pounding it on us all night.
Something has to be pounded.
So guys, that's all for this bonus episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed the chat. Remember that you can follow Miss Maya on Instagram at Maya Crafone with an F, not a PH, because as she would say, Maya Crafone with a PH, that's Crapone. So you can follow Maya Crafone to keep up with all of her latest gigs and shenanigans. I'm sure we will be seeing Miss Maya again very soon on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you are following excuse_me_pod on Instagram for all of the latest content and updates on Excuse Me. But guys, for now, stay safe, look after each other, and see you next time.